All right, it's time to fire on all fours. Let's bring you Wake Up Conversations. This is a conversation that began yesterday as segued into today's Wake Up. Lagos State Rapid Response Squad, RRS, has apprehended and arrested miscreants and hoodlums and agberos who have been constituting a nuisance and posing threats to motorists and other road users. The targeted individuals were those allegedly harassing and intimidating drivers, extorting money, and in some cases, damaging vehicles when demands were resisted. The arrests were made during a midnight enforcement operation along the Lekki Ajah Expressway over the weekend. Lagos State's Commissioner of Environment and Water Resources, Honorable Tokunbo Wahab, who made this known via his online platforms, also emphasized that the Rapid Response Squad will continue to sustain intelligence-led operations and enforcement actions against criminal elements whose activities endanger public safety and disrupt the free movement of people and vehicles across the state. Let's take a look.
All right, so what you see there are the, many call them social miscreants, or miscreants as it were, who have decided to take over the Lekki Ajah axis, filling up the streets, extorting Lagosians, destroying vehicles when they can, and doing all in their power to ensure that they distort what the governance or the government of Lagos State is doing. Just yesterday, we talked about this, and we put out a clarion call to the Lagos State government or governor by simply mentioning that something needs to be done.
Absolutely.
The number of street urchins that we have in Lagos, permit me to use the word, is enough, or the sentence is enough to make up a whole state of its own, a small state of its own. There's so much. If you come towards the Ajah axis, you find it's like they just came from a different state, and in the morning it's business as usual. Mothers with over 5 children, all seated, lined up. Fathers just lurking around the streets.
So there's a thin line between the quote-unquote almajiri, the beggars, and these omotaku, these agbero people.
So the kids are growing up to become, because the closest to them are the agberos. So they're watching them, they're learning from them, they're grooming them. And you have all of that. So from begging, you now have them. The one that happened in Ikate that someone had highlighted on social media, these are young kids, but they're starting to hold weapons. That's how it starts. As young as 11, 12, 13, you could see that their eyes are already stoned. These are people that you could categorically either look at and say, either this person is under the influence, or this person shouldn't be acting with, just like a child should act.
So the question is, what is then done with these people? Because this is the second time within 5 months that this kind of arrest is made on that Lekki Ajah corridor. The question is, what is being done? Are we having a arrest, detain, release situation? Are they being taken to court? Is there a precedent being set? Also, there's the risk. You know, with the arrest being made, there's a tiny risk in trying to determine the difference between an agbero and a regular person, because it could just be that there's a person who is not looking well kept and has a menial job they're doing on the side that can be misconstrued to be an agbero and arrested by RRS, you know, and also detained like we've seen in that video. So the question is, and I do not have this answer, what can we do to provide a lasting situation to the menace that is agberoism and touts and these thugs? I know that as citizens, we have a part to play. Honorable Tokunbo have mentioned that, and many people don't like it, they frown at it. But the truth is, there's an element of truth to that, where celebrities come and they are tossing money in the air on the Lekki Ajah Expressway. I've seen it several times. They open their moonroof and they're tossing money out of the moonroof to these thugs. If you are trying to help them, that is not the best way to help them, because what you're doing is you're encouraging a conduct of misbehavior that makes them feel entitled to people's monies. It's why those little squidgy boys and girls, they ask you for money, you don't give them. They will go and splash, just as the traffic light turns green and you're about to move, they will throw dirty water on your car. Or in some cases, I hear that now they're starting to puncture people's tire. So we have a challenge on our hands. I understand, and sometimes I feel a bit of pity for the Lagos state government because Lagos is a mega city. It might feel that sometimes the numbers are becoming overwhelming for the state to handle. That these numbers, because it's like every look and cranny you turn into. For every wealthy society you go into, right beside the wealthy society, there's a shanty of Agberu. You go to Ikoyi, you go to Banana Island. Everywhere, the seeming high and mighty are not exempt. So you can't get rid of them. They're like bed bugs.
I agree. I did a write-up on that last year, Olive, and it's basically one word. It's called gentrification. Gentrification is what you see at the projects. If you go to the projects, if you go to Harlem, you go to all those places. But guess what? You have something severe that is happening within Lagos and across Nigeria. And gentrification is basically you have the high net worth individuals who are living in a place seemingly secluded, exclusive, but not really exclusive, because just next to them, you have those who are not able to afford all of that. So what happens is they end up looking up to you. The opportunities, like we've mentioned, the xenophobic opportunities where the last time we had a riot, a disaster, they headed straight to who owned whatever wealth, and they would take every single thing and break it down. But we do hope that Lagos State will do more.
We saw them now doing NSAS. The NSAS protest started well. It was the hoodlums that hijacked it. Some were sponsored. Some were just people who were hungry. We can't talk about the problem with hoodlums and the problem of touts that we have without also looking at the fact that there is an unemployment problem that we have. There's a poverty problem. With the rising levels of poverty and unemployment in the country, you will definitely see the idle minds that would end up becoming the devil's workshop. So we can't discount the impact that poverty and...
I want to ask you a question just before we go to what Nigerians are saying. So I thought to myself, and I think I want to throw this out to our viewers. If Lagos continues like this, what will become of Lagos in the next 5 years? Serious. What will become of Lagos in the next 5 years? If you have not experienced these hoodlums, or in quotes, aka Agberu, the numbers are increasing daily. And guess what? Right before, years ago, they used to, by 12-1, you wouldn't find them on the streets. I mean, trying to collect tolls from Okada riders, buses, and so on. But guess what happened? Just a few years ago, before the commissioner stepped in, this same administration, some were even trying to collect money from those who are using the pedestrian bridge, Olive. I have that story. I put that story up on social media back then when it happened. A lady was on social media, and they tried to collect money from her for climbing the bridge until the commissioner stepped in, and Kai came in as well and said, who are the people that are looking for them? Let's see what Nigerians are saying, by the way.
I hope that one day we can look at global best practices and see what other countries like Kigali and Rwanda have done to be able to set up institutions to incorporate these people. We can't also talk about the problem of Agberus without talking about NURTW and the role that the National Union Road Transport Workers have played. A number of them have even accused, quote-unquote, law enforcement agencies of extorting them. You know, the LASMA and the code, they accuse them of conniving to extort them and then thereby creating breeding ground. So it's a complete overhaul that needs to happen. But like you said, let's see what Nigerians are saying on X, and then we'll come to YouTube. We're streaming live on YouTube via New Central TV Live.
Doug Kayanfe says, can I humbly suggest that you will bring back the model used by Marwa and Fashola? I always say it here, Olive. I always say it. Get these guys to work for the state instead of congesting the prisons. It goes on to say, make them clean the gutter, clear bushes, and maintain the city under strict supervision by armed officers. Then pay them wages, stipends. Those on drugs can be sent for rehabilitation too. Also, provide health allowances by signing them up to HMOs. I don't know about the HMOs though, but you know. Anyway, DQ says this raid should continue daily for a month. That's the only way it will stop. And I agree. I agree with you, DQ. I mean, we do have some suggestions as well, but I mean, we're happy that the commissioner is doing something as well. It will be a monumental mistake to throw them in prison. They will come out worse. Put them to work by doing community service. Let them clean gutters, pack refuse, cut grass, etc. I like the fact of that. I like that park refuse.
Yeah.
Lagos is struggling with debt issues.
Exactly.
And I did say it here, if you remember, when the commissioner came, and I said, why don't you have so many people, why don't you put them to work? Anyway, send them to jail. They are now a danger to the society, so says Sparrow and themselves. I wish the prisons in Lagos could be reformed by fixing the security and infrastructure of our prisons to replicate successful global models, turning correctional centers into productive industrial hubs that generate state wealth while rehabilitating inmates. That's what Sparrow says. Lafleur says, good job, our dear honorable. Please, we need more of this in Lekki to Lekki Ajah corridor, especially that Ajah corridor, that particular place. We have thugs and urchins in Lekki, Kota, especially there too, to the Ajah axis, selling drugs indiscriminately in public. You're driving, they're asking you, which one do you want? And extorting, harassing people on a daily basis. We need Lagos to be back as the mega city it was. We hope.
Just to mention that there actually is a law, the law of the environmental law of 2012 prohibits thuggery, touting, and extortion, and the road traffic law of 2012 outlaws toll collection. But these laws are definitely not enforced because what we see is this agberoism. We've talked about the squeegee boys, the ones that are begging, but there are the ones that would not let your cars pass without collecting a certain token. We've talked about how I've shared my personal experience moving houses within the Lekki environment and having to pay agbero at different stops. It wasn't me, it was the driver. You can't carry something like a fridge or a television. They will collect tolls from you. And that's because some of them argue that they have to also remit to their organizations, their NURTW and the like. So it really is a hydra-headed monster. Let's see if we have comments on YouTube. Good morning, Mokinye Chukwemeka. Good morning. Thank you for the best wishes to Benga. Thank you, Samuel and Femi Olagunju. He says, these hoodlums need to be arrested and dealt with. This is bad of them. Thank you very much, Samuel. David, we love you too. Michael Zu said, I watched what they did at Pella's marriage, and other is a sign of things to come. Look at how they vandalized cars of VIPs who failed to roger them. And if you're not our Nigerian audience, roger means collecting of bribes. So when they tell you roger means like they're asking you for money. Mokunye Chukwemeka says, Joe, somebody said, what will happen in the next 5 years, some years ago? It will keep getting worse. My brother was extorted on the leg bridge around Lekki, Ajah, 20K. He was new to Lagos at the time. This is what the reality is. Everybody, almost everybody who lives in Lagos has experienced the extortion by the stouts in one form or another. Either through squeegee boys or those that will tell you to park. You park in a supermarket that has a parking lot and they'll tell you to park, you have to pay 1,000 naira. Oh. When I go to Sakatinumbu, the computer village of Lekki, of the island, you are literally parking in front of a gadget store
that you want to
buy phones or you want to repair a device with, and you have to pay 500 to 1,000 naira parking space. It does not make sense to me.
I think Lagos State, in a way, has not just Lagos State, other states have emulated. They've legalized wrongdoing, and why do we say so? The state has come out to try and fight it, but I think there's a lot to be done, Olive. We don't have time, but like we said, we'll buy out time to discuss this. We'll have this conversation at a lengthy, when we have enough time, basically.
Absolutely. Ikechukwu are mentioning saying, Ikechukwu Victory Rada is saying, people are not talking about the imam that made inciting comment about Christians. Relax.
Relax.
This morning.
Relax.
But let's head to Osun State this morning. Osun State Governor Ademola Adeleke on Tuesday took his re-election campaign to Ile-Ife, where he received strong endorsements from the Ooni of Ife, Oba Adeyeye Enitan Ogunwusi, who praised his administration's infrastructural strides, such as the Ile-Ife flyover and dualized roads leading to the palace, describing Adeleke as a good son and offering prayers for his victory during the visit. The Ooni stressed that traditional leaders must acknowledge positive developments regardless of politics, while the Modakeke monarch also declared support for Adeleke's second term, citing community benefits from his projects, and the governor in turn urged supporters to avoid confrontation with opponents, assuring them that his confidence in winning rests on his performance and widespread support across Osun State. Let's take a look. Right, there we have it. The Ooni, they're speaking to the achievements of Governor Adeleke of Osun State. However, every major candidate in this race has gone to pledge support or gone to do a courtesy visit. The question is, how do you draw the divide between a courtesy visit and an endorsement? Because the Ooni, of course, still spoke when Oyebamiji went to do the courtesy visit. A number of them, whenever they're running for office, they understand the importance of royal fathers, and they will go to pay homage. So the question is, what makes a courtesy visit different from an endorsement visit? Can the previous ones also claim endorsement? There was a monarch, the Orango of Ila. He publicly disavowed himself from an endorsement one time when, So the thing is, he may be doing this out of formality. We do not know if we can cite this as a public endorsement. But yeah, this is what it is.
Well, Olive, some would say it's an endorsement. And it's kind of like tilted the game to another angle, because many would expect that by now, the well-popular Ooni of Ile-Ife is someone whom they would have thought will definitely stick to his guns and try to stay neutral, or rather tilt to the opposition. That's what many thought, not our thoughts at all. But seeing this, it generated mixed reactions, especially online. Netizens, I mean, were reacting differently. That, see, even this XYZ person, even this person, and even the Ooni of has done so. So it's a lot. Yesterday as well, we saw women led by the wife of the governor, His Excellency Adeleke's wife, led women out yesterday. They came out en masse. They were protesting that they want free and fair. They met with the police met with them, they had conversations. What that was going on, the NLC, Nigeria Labour Congress, a few other government institutions all came out to equally support the Governor Adeleke yesterday. Videos were online yesterday where they had designed the road parts and said, don't try to bribe us, do this, do that. What that was also going on yesterday, yellow caps were everywhere. There were throngs of people who were filling up a street and marching and saying they're supporting. Now, guess what? On the other hand, the NDC, former Vice President Alhaji Tokunbo arrived at the state, and as soon as he got there, the NDC started its own, the ADC started its own campaign, ADC. And when they started their own campaign, I mean, that's the cap yesterday, during the opening of the roads and so on and so forth. And meanwhile, while Alhaji Tokunbo was there yesterday, a lot was happening. Former Governor Aregbesola was dancing. People said he was dancing like David. I said, which one is dancing like David? People were saying that they can't believe he still had the guts to come back to dance after all he had done. A lot is happening. I was just trying to highlight it. Then we now have the issue of the religious leaders. The religious leaders now also come to play. And that's why when I started the show, I said, what is the role of religion in politics? We always ask this question as journalists every now and then.
Very important. Honestly, you hit the nail on the head. But I mean, like the Lagere flyover has been a very key part of conversations in Ife, and it's just a number of conversations that has been happening. But the question is, can you separate politics from tradition? And in the same vein, can you separate politics from religion? Speaking about religion, Islamic cleric Sheil Jingir has come under heavy fire over controversial remarks that Nigeria must continue with a Muslim presidential ticket in 2027, coupled with his inflammatory labeling of Christians as infidels, suggesting that opponents against the ticket should leave the country. The cleric made the remarks at an event attended by some All Progressives Congress governors, including Kano State Governor Abba Yusuf and his Jigawa State counterpart Umar Namadi, according to a video circulating on Sunday. The cleric's remarks has drawn sharp criticism from stakeholders such as the Christian Association of Nigeria, warning that such rhetoric dangerously fuels division. Senator Rabiu Kwankwaso condemning the remarks as an un-Islamic remark and a threat to national unity, and human rights lawyer Deji Adeyanju stressing that the comments could inflame an already fragile religious tension in the country. Let's look.
Ahmad Bola Tinubu wanda ya daga tutar siyasarsu ya mata kirari da Muslim na ce ina ɗaya daga cikin masu daga tutar musulunci in kira jama'a ku taho mu yi Muslim. Na sani cewa kafirai na jin zafin wannan kalma, to amma ba akwai kiristoci ba akwai yahudawa ba akwai masu bautar magiro ba. Ni musulmi mai wazin musulunci da na ce muslim mai na taba nasu. Na hana kirishin ya faɗa ne, na hana magiro ya faɗa ne, na hana ɗan tantarbatete ya faɗa ne, amma ni a matsayi na musulmi Muslim.
These are the kind of comments that put us an already heated country that is already divided along ethnic, tribal, and religious lines. It puts us further down the division that we're struggling to fight against. And we warned against this. We knew that the elections were coming, and this is typically the rhetoric that politicians, and it's sad to see now that even religious leaders are playing the line. When the Muslim ticket came up, the conversation about Muslim ticket came up in 2023, there was a huge pushback. Many people felt Christians were being sidelined, it was not fair, but eventually the tickets flew. The Muslim leadership became president and vice president. Okay, we're counting down to 2027, and then the same thing is happening. I mean, we're talking about this in a time where there has been conversation about Christians complaining about not just being marginalized politically, but complaining about the fact that they feel targeted, that their lives are being taken based on the fact that they are Christians. In the North, there have been Christians who have cried foul, who have said that the reason why they are dealing with the levels of killings and deaths that they've had to experience as a result of their faith, that the country had to even go and lobby for a foreign agency to clean up our image. We were trying to put up a front to Donald Trump, that we're a united country, that we're dealing with insecurity as opposed to religious genocide. So in a country that is already struggling with such very sensitive issues, saying something like this is quite inflammatory. And it's very disappointing that some APC governors were there. Now, being present at an event where something is said does not necessarily mean endorsement, but the silence after should be condemned. I love that the vice president spoke about this and condemned this. I love that Femi Fani-Kayode condemned this. The governor of Kano State was there. The governor of Jigawa State, I believe, was there. If these persons were there and the silence after was so obvious, what does it tell you? What message are you trying to communicate? It's a really sad situation that we have found ourselves. And this is not the first time we're hearing a politician say this.
Can I also shock you?
Please shock me.
While he was saying this, another cleric came out and said that non-Muslims should be killed. That video is also online. Unfortunately, we can't bring that video up now because we're almost out of time for wake-up conversations. But he brought it out and said non-Muslims should be killed, that they are infidels. Again, we must be very mindful.
My question is, the people who said that, what did they do to them?
So that's
if the government of the day clearly hears someone, if you can come out in broad daylight and say that somebody who isn't of a particular faith should be killed and nothing is done to you, that means we are passing a message that we are truly a religious intolerable state and that maybe we have no business, saying that we're a democratic
just
state.
to add this, in Ghana, a cleric also came out in Ghana to say something similar, just like what we've seen. And the entire Ghanaian brothers came out and called him up and gave him time. He had to come back and do a video and apologize. And guess what? President Mahama came out and made a clear statement. It will not be tolerated here. Because that's how it starts. When you keep quiet, it starts to grow. But I'm happy you've mentioned the names who have spoken out. They've said, hey, listen, this is not what it is. We've seen some online who have gone on to say, this is not what we stand for. But it's beyond just saying this is not what we stand for. What should be done? The individual should be able to come back and retract his statement because you have followers, for goodness sakes. And why Nigeria is bedeviled with its insecurity issues all started like this.
If that man who said, if really we're hearing the, I mean, I haven't seen that video, but if truly that man said that anyone who isn't a Christian or who is a Muslim should be killed, then if nothing is done to him, then it's clear to say that what is being done to Nnamdi Kanu is very unfair. Because what did he do or what did he say that is worse
And that's
well.
what netizens
Because if
are
you're
also
coming out to
saying
say
online.
that somebody made insightful statements, you arrested him, his statement is threatening the unity of Nigeria, the statement of the same person is threatening the unity of Nigeria. We're streaming live on YouTube, News Central TV Live. Please drop your comments there. At some point this morning, we will take your comment. But let's say no to people who are actively and consciously working to inflame our polity and divide us along religious, ethnic, and political lines. Let's share with you what the top stories this morning are.